Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. Joshua Jahn kills detainee, wounds others at the Dallas ICE building. Family sues FFA, Army, and American Airlines over DC Midair disaster killings, killing 67. And the White House orders agencies to prep for mass firing if the government shut down. There's so much going on. We're going to cover it right here for you this morning, right here on Blacklogic. So Joshua Jahn, which they are naming the ICE sniper, yesterday a gunman opened fire from a rooftop at a Dallas ICE facility, killing one detainee and injuring two. Now the suspect, 29 years of age, Joshua Jahn, died by suicide at the scene. Investigators recover a bullet inscribed anti-ICE, anti-immigration, hinting an ideological motive. And Joshua's history showed instability and no prior known political activism. And the FBI is treating the incident as targeted violence, motive still under the investigation. So we're going to dive just a little bit deeper here for you, ladies and gentlemen, regarding this. Now, you see the highlighted headline here. Officials stated that the shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and no ICE personnel were among the victims. Now, we're going to show a bullet shell that shows that he actually engraved anti-ICE. So he was definitely trying to unalive some ICE agents, which he was unsuccessful. Now, he did unalive one of the detainees that ICE had in custody. And the FBI director, Kash Patel, said an anti-ICE message was found on an unspent shell casing. Okay, so we're going to go down here to the highlighted portion here. Hopefully we can see that on your screens there. It states here that a shooter killed a detainee and injured two others outside an immigration and custom enforcement facility in Dallas, Texas, after firing from a nearby rooftop Wednesday morning, according to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And the shooter fired indiscriminately at the ICE building, including at a van in the Sally Port where the victims were shot. DHS said in a statement, now the shooter, whose identity has not been released by authorities, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The wound detainees were in critical condition Wednesday. One of the detainees who was injured is a Mexican national, according to a press release from Mexico's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Originally, DHS had said two detainees were killed and one was in critical condition. Authorities in Dallas said it wasn't clear who the shooter was targeting. Now, we all know, based upon the report, that the shooter was actually targeting, I would like to believe, any ICE agent because he was anti-ICE. Now, they did have a unspent shell casing here that I want to blow up for you guys so you can see the engravement. You see he engraved what seems like to be a black blue pen and one of the unspent shell casings, anti-ICE. So he was definitely targeting ICE agents, in my opinion. Now, this according to, the very meager evidence that we have. So let me go ahead and just go a little bit deeper here because this hits very close to home here in Texas. It states here that the neighbor had no idea about the attack until she drove upon reporters down the street and federal agents next door. That's insane to hear, she said. Like I said, very sweet family. So that was really surprising to hear. It took a while for Tim Johnson to learn that he lives down the street from the Fairview home connected to John. He says he's only knew of John and no personal details. Because do not forget, also in that Fairview area, there's an outlet mall. There was just a year ago or 2 years ago, they had an active shooter at the outlet mall that people got wounded as well. And we're going to cover some of those stories so you can kind of get more context and a breakdown. You think just how crazy this is and how close it is to home, said Johnson, but it's an unfortunate event. And records indicate John most recently lived in Durant, Oklahoma. That's what we're looking into because they're basically trying to find out, did he get radicalized by some sort of anti-ICE faction or group or organization? Who knows? They're kind of doing their investigations currently. Law enforcement officials were seen parked outside a home connected to John in Durant on Wednesday afternoon. Video shows the FBI and SWAT focusing on the listed address, but no words as to what was covered. So again, they go on to talk about Collin County and McKinney. Texas told the Associated Press that someone named Joshua Jahn took classes at various times between 2013 and 2018. And then in late 2017, he worked harvesting legal marijuana from a farm in Washington State. So he was kind of all over the place, Oklahoma, Texas, as well as Washington State. And there's still no word on the motive for the shooting. And this is Joshua Jahn. This is intriguing, ladies and gentlemen, because I've done news special editions for white on white violence. I've done it for mass shootings, active shooters. I've kind of given these breakdowns. But as of late, mass media, quote unquote, legacy media has been scrubbing the internet and deliberately erasing the races of a lot of mass shooters here in America. And I'm gonna just show you one of the things I've done so you can understand what I'm getting at here. Also, it states here, which I wanted to point out, that could not find any criminal history of violent crime of John's record. Because I know there's gonna be people in my comment section that's gonna go against what I've been saying for a long time. That we need to have more restrictive gun laws. Constitutional carry is not working in America. No, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a Democrat. No, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a conservative. I'm just someone who's speaking the truth from a very realistic perspective. If you keep having people who take it upon themselves, who take crime, mayhem, chaos, destruction, murder, death, kill, or some people would say justice in their own hands, then how can we level the playing field? Then everybody carry guns. So now everybody is hyperly emotional, hyperbolic about certain situations. So now everybody's going to pull out a gun and shoot at everybody. And when that occurs, we don't know if it's political violence, race violence, if somebody was turned into an extremist. We don't know if somebody was radicalized for whatever reason, anti-ICE, anti-race, anti-politics. All of these things mean something. And the common denominator is what people will say is crazy people or unstable people with guns. No, the common denominator is the gun. And someone, and again, I didn't want to bring this gentleman's name up once again, but I have to just for reference. Someone was quoting Charlie Kirk about the death rate of accidents here in America. How we have, 50,000 people die a year from accident in America. That is transportation. Guns were originally, guns were originally created for two reasons, for war and for hunting. That was pretty much it. People now have guns for all sorts of reasons. We have guns for sport. We have guns for home protection. We have guns for protection when we're out in the home. But I want you guys to look at all these other countries, because for some reason, the founding fathers put together the Second Amendment because during a time of the British invasion, that is the reason why they put that in there. So everyone could protect their homes from foreign and domestic violence, because they probably knew this was going to occur. Okay, I think in some regards, the forefathers had foresight of what could possibly happen. But let me just take my glaze overseas to Europe. Let me take a glance over in Asia. Let me look at all these Asian and European countries and how many of them do not allow their citizens to have guns. And then look at the gun rate, because believe me, one gun can do a massive amount of damage. You remember the guy in Las Vegas in Nevada when he got up on the rooftop and he killed like 67 people? Have we forgotten that? Oh man, you talking about violating our Second Amendment? No, I'm saying we need to have more restrictive gun laws, so law-abiding citizens with no, maybe criminal history or no issues medically when it comes to their mental stability. These people should not have guns. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I would not be surprised if they found that, he went to therapy a couple of times. He was suffering from anxiety and or depression, which everybody does at one point in their life. Everybody suffered from some mild case of anxiety or depression. That's life, right? You get over it. Some people can, some people can't. But don't try to inflate as if he had some sort of mental issue. And this is the reason why he's done it. Now, some people say, he was radicalized, or he became an extremist because of all the mass immigration and deportation, or his girlfriend was Hispanic or Haitian or Asian, or his girlfriend or his significant other or somebody he knew or his friend was an illegal immigrant from any of the countries that people come over here in. It doesn't matter the reason. The common denominator has always been the gun. And as I told you, ladies and gentlemen, there's no secret. I own firearms legally. I go to gun shows and purchase ammunition. I mean, I have probably 6 or 7, ammunition cases because I go and shoot and practice and keep my skills up. But do I agree with some of the constitutional carry laws in America? No, because we're going to continue to have innocent people die day in and day out each and every year because all of us want guns. All of us want guns. So everybody, constitutional carry, protect yourself. Who are we protecting ourselves from? When is the last time America was invaded? When was the last time America was attacked? And then if you even look at the last time that America was truly attacked, I'm talking about like physical violence, like 9/11, 2001, 9/11, when I was in the Marine Corps, they couldn't even attack us in a traditional warfare. They took control of airplanes and ran them inside of buildings. In New York, in Pennsylvania, in the Pentagon, in Virginia/DC area. They did all of these things. They couldn't even come over here with militia groups carrying AK-47s. They didn't go to some mall and had, 5 or 6 active shooters just randomly, indiscriminately killing people. They didn't do that. So when we look at the history of America, when we was invaded, when we was attacked, it's been 100-something years already. I want you guys to really think about that. And people are still like, that don't mean nothing. You never know when it's tyrannical government. If you're calling the government a tyrannical government, then you must be talking about the Trump administration. If you were saying the same thing when President Biden was in office, then you must have been talking about the Biden administration. But we've had all these administrations in office, and all of them, in my opinion, have the misuse of power. Yes, they have. They have misused their power. With his Biden with the auto pen, because he's probably, he's probably having some sort of mental decline because of his old age, gratefully so. And President Trump, what people are now stating authoritarianism, he's misusing the power of the presidency. And again, politics is really nasty. It's really confusing. It's really murky of what they can and cannot do. This is why we had the 3 branches of government, so the president can have ultimate power, so Congress can have ultimate power, so the Supreme Court can have ultimate power. That is the separation. But I want to show you guys something here very quickly, because this actually needs to be covered. Now, here are the active shootings, mass shootings since 2020 in Texas. Now, granted, this is only Texas, by the way, only in the state of Texas. Houston, September 2020, murder-suicide. A man shot 4 members of his family, his mother, stepfather, and 2 teenage stepchildren before turning the gun on himself. Corsicana, domestic violence killing. A 41-year-old man shot and killed 4 family members, his parents, his son, and a child relative in 2 separate locations before killing himself. Livingston, Texas. While reports on specific details vary, the Houston Chronicle described a mass shooting in the town of Livingston in February 2020 that killed 4 people. Additionally, context may be needed to confirm that this refers to the same Corsicana incident, etc. Okay, so we can count that as 2 because they don't have the reports. 2020, we're all familiar with Uvalde, Texas, at the elementary school. Okay, we're all familiar with that. 17 was wounded. He killed 19 students. But for some reason, people keep blaming the people, which is true. But could he alive that many people with a knife? Could he have alive that many people with a bat? And I got it for the people who are going to say, well, he could just 3D print a gun. Do you know how long it would take to 3D print a gun that would be effective? Unless somebody already has the blueprints and plans and what composite materials you would need, just to kind of throw that in there because somebody's going to try to be witty and try to put that in the comment section. No, I'm gonna go ahead and debunk that. That's going to take a very long time. Then how many people, how many mass shootings we have, and how many people are going to share that information, maybe on Discord or 4chan or Reddit or one of those sites? I don't know. Moving on. Centerville, Texas. Gonzalo Lopez killing spree. Okay, it stated that Lopez murdered a man and his 4 children at a family ranch near Centerville after escaping a prison transport bus. This is right out the movies. The 5 victims were a man and his grandchildren who were brothers aged 18, 16, and 11, and their 11-year-old cousin. Lopez was later killed in a shootout with the police. Houston, Texas, 2022. The Houston Chronicle mentioned a shooting in the August 22 that killed 4 people, possibly related to another Houston shooting. Okay, and then they had this other Houston shooting. ABC News reported a shooting in April 22 that killed 4 people. 23, this is when I was referring to in Allen, Texas at the Outlet Mall. A gunman opened fire, killing 8 people and injuring at least 7. And the shooter, Martinez Garcia, was a neo-Nazi who was Hispanic, by the way, an incel who fantasized about race wars online. According to the reports, a police officer who was already at the mall on an unrelated call shot and killed Garcia. Cleveland, Texas, a man shot and killed his 5 neighbors, including a 9-year-old boy, after they asked him to stop firing his gun in the yard. Dallas, Texas, a shooting occurred in Dallas, Texas, killed 4 and wounded 1. Austin and Bear, Texas, Shane James, a man named Shane James, is accused of killing 6 people and injuring 3 others in a shooting spree that began with the murder of his parents in San Antonio, continued with random attacks in Austin. James had a history of mental health issues and a previous arrest for misdemeanor assault charges. And they stated that Shane James were actually black. Okay, they said that his race was actually black. I'm going to point out race here, which is very imperative. McGregory, Texas, a man named Nicholas James Hernandez is accused of shooting and killing 5 people in September of 2022, though the incident is sometimes referred with a December 2023 date. 2024, Fort Worth, Texas. In May 24, a man fatally shot a worker at a warehouse during his break and also fired at 2 other victims. 18-year-old Decan Medeiros was later arrested. Houston, Texas, a Lakewood church. In February 2024, a woman opened fire in the church, injuring 2 people before killing off-duty officers. Her 7-year-old son was also critically injured. Just yesterday, a gunman opened fire on an ICE facility in northwestern Dallas, killing 1 detainee and injuring others. The shooter is under investigation. El Paso, Texas, a man shooting incident occurred, where 4 victims were injured, but they need more specifications. So this next segment, we're going to go into race and how I believe that mass media is erasing key details to hide the victim's race. And the reason why this is important, this is one of those metrics that investigators need to target certain online extremists and radicalization groups of who are they actually radicalizing. We just looked at Joshua Jahn, 29 years of age. His only arrest record had that they arrested him for possession of marijuana. Then we also have information that he worked at a marijuana farm in Washington State and that he also lived in Durant, Oklahoma. But somehow he was, quote unquote, as people will continue to state, that he was radicalized by liberals, that he was radical. That's what's going to come out. He was radicalized by the Democratic Party and their anti-deportation, their anti-ICE rhetoric. Now, granted, there are a lot of people that I've even heard on the Democratic side that they do not stand for illegal immigration. And some of them don't even stand for mass immigration, but they stand for legal immigration, okay? So again, I just want to debunk a lot of the things that people are already going to say. So let's get into race very quickly here. Now, it states here in some mass shooting cases, this is kind of a disclaimer of Gemini AI, those motivated by racism or extreme ideologies, the race or ethnicity of the perpetrator is publicly discussed during the investigation. However, in others, this information is not released to the public or is not a relevant factor. That's interesting. So these first 3 shootings that we went over, they don't have a race. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and allude that the race of these people were white automatically. They were either white or white Hispanic. And you guys know what I'm referring to. Why am I doing that? I'm gonna cover that just a little bit later here. 2022, Salvador Ramos. They have his full name. Of course, people already know that he's of Hispanic ethnicity. Centerville, Texas. The Gonzalo Lopez killing spree, Mexican mafia, was of Hispanic ethnicity, okay? And then these don't have races. Again, anything that they don't specify a race, we're going to allude to white, okay? Because I pointed out all the ones that going through these news stories to your right here. Let me show you. Let me just move this over. We're talking about ABC, CNN. We have the race of all these different areas over here. I'm just showing you here, ladies and gentlemen, because again, this is one of those metrics that people need when they're doing investigations. Now, of course, this one doesn't have a race, but Shane James is believed to be black. They don't even know. How do I don't know if he's black or not? I feel as though they did DEI on these shooting sprees, on these mass shootings. Let's just throw a black person in there. DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. McGregor, Texas, Mexican citizen of Hispanic ethnicity. Okay. Now, the only thing you've really seen is we don't know if we believe is a black guy on this one, but all the other ones that we're naming the race has been what? Hispanic. Houston, Texas, Lakewood Church. They're pointing out their name as well their ethnicity. Then the only one that they pointed out was the most recent one, and this again is only in Texas in the past 5 years, was a white Texas man. I believe that mass media, police, it may be even complicit with law enforcement. They are scrubbing and deleting vital information of all the mass shootings, mass killings, and active shooters in America. Now, granted, I could just, you know what? I won't even say America. I will say Texas. It seems as though they are deleting a lot of vital information here in Texas. Wait a minute. You know some of these people's names, but you don't know their race. You know some of these people's name, but you don't know their ethnicity. Look, ladies and gentlemen, when we go up here, we have the names of almost every active shooter that committed these very heinous crimes. Okay. Now, I looked this up too. It says, based on data from multiple research sources, white Americans have committed the majority of mass shootings in the US in terms of raw numbers. But on a per capita basis, the rates of different racial groups, including black and white, often comparable. The total rate of ideological motivated attacks, which includes those based on race, is a small fraction of mass shootings. Let me tell you why this is so utterly important of the information that they're giving you, because they won't come out and state that majority of mass shootings when it refers to black Americans are gang violence and black people, that the majority of mass shootings, mass killings, and active shooters of the black demographic and their percentage and ratios are due to gang violence in black communities and black neighborhoods on black people. When you refer to all these other active shooters, you will see that it's indiscriminate and mostly non-white. Again, they're either killing their family, they're killing indiscriminately, and most likely they don't want to kill anyone that's white. So that means that this is mostly extremist behavior when it comes to the mass shootings in America. Okay, so let's look into it. It says motivation for indiscriminate or hate-based shootings, extreme ideology. And this study is very, very recent that I'm pointing out to you guys. Mass shooters between 1966 and 2023 had extreme ideological interests, though not all were directly motivated by them. Ideological shooters were more likely to target strangers and non-white victims, use rifles, and create manifestos. Manifestos is basically the reason why I'm committing all of this violence, the reason why I'm killing this random people. That's the reason why. That's why they're doing this. But see, stop trying to throw black people in every single chaotic, destructive nature that we really don't evolve in. Because here's the thing what people have always noticed. Majority of black people's victims are black people. We don't indiscriminately go out and target white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, Pacific Islanders. We don't do that. I hate to say this, but we keep a lot of our violence in-house. It's almost as if a tribal nature. Oh, this block is warring against that block. This gang is warring against that gang. These drug dealers don't like these drug dealers, so on and so forth. So who should you really be fearful of if you're out and about at the Texas Fair, at a mall in your state? Who should you be more fearful of? A black guy getting on a roof and picking off people, or other people? I just wanted to point out the truth here, because it just amazes me how no one is pointing out race and all of these mass shootings, and then they had one black guy and the rest all Hispanic. One white guy, one black guy, even though the reports tell us that the majority of mass shooters, active shooters, and mass killings are from white people. And I'm not demonizing the entire white race like some people get on there, no, because here's a disclaimer that when I speak the way I speak, I have a lot of white friends, black friends. I have friends from all demographics because this is my disclaimer, or some people say this is my excuse. But whatever crime revolves around a certain demographic and or race more so than another, then we need to make that separation. We need to stop blending all this in together because people have been painting a picture about Black Americans as if we are inherently evil and violent because of our race. Now, I'm going to do a breakdown probably tomorrow about white Christian nationalism because there's a part of white supremacy that we really haven't been talking about because more things are coming to light, okay? And I'm going to do more of a reaction video. I'm going to let someone tell their story, but I'm going to do more of a reaction video, and I'll probably do this tomorrow, this weekend. I really don't work on the weekends, but I have to get this out. It's very important that we understand this. The different methods and the different tactics that white supremacists use and how they may go about eradicating non-white people from America. Very important. Very important. This is going to be vital information that we really need to do our homework on. We really need to understand. And I believe it was John Henry Clark. I believe he stated, and I'm paraphrasing, if you do not understand white supremacy, then everything else will confuse you. And we're still trying to understand it. And that is the problem. We really need to understand it more so than any other time in history. Okay. So now on January 29th, American Airlines Flight 5342 collided with Midair with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter over Washington, D.C., killing 67 people. The family of one of the victims has filed a lawsuit against American Airlines, PSA Airlines, the FFA, and the U.S. Army, accusing negligence and ignored warnings after over 30 documented near misses. Now, the lawsuit claims systematic safety failures, bad air traffic control, poor separation protocols, and failures in oversight. And the NTSB investigation is ongoing, and more families may join this legal action. So this may come to a massive lawsuit against all these different parties involved. This may be a class action lawsuit, ladies and gentlemen. And if you had any family members who was harmed, killed, injured behind this, you should really look for this court case and get involved in this because you had all of this documentation. You had 30 documented near misses. Something should have raised the alarm that something is absolutely wrong. Let's pause, freeze all of the air flights until we get this glitch out of the system. See, that's the thing about Americans. We may complain about something moving slowly, something not working right. Why is my flight delayed? But I promise you, if those people could have been alive today and say, would you rather go and take the chance of your plane possibly colliding with a helicopter and all of you dying, or would you be inconvenienced for an hour or two? I would like to see 100% of the people say, I would rather be inconvenienced for an hour or two. That is my belief when it comes to this. So the president is basically threatening that the White House is basically going to lay off a lot of people because of this shutdown that may occur. Now, unlike typical shutdowns where workers are furloughed, but they again return, these plans could permanently eliminate positions and programs not legally protected. And the memo threatens to use a shutdown as leverage, pressuring Democrats. And the critics call this intimidation. And agencies have been told to finalize and submit their plans immediately of some of the people who possibly may get fired. This is what they're stating, okay? It says that the White House told its agencies to prepare for mass firings in Congress to avert a government shutdown next week. And in the memo of the Office of Budget and Management directs federal agencies to begin drafting reduction in force plans, whose funding will lapse if Congress fails to meet a 30 September budget deadline. And the warning comes after Trump on Tuesday refused a meeting with Democrats who are seeking to secure healthcare funding as part of budget negotiations. Now, I don't know if you guys have been aware of a lot of people getting fired from a lot of these healthcare insurance companies. A lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people are getting fired. A lot of people are losing Medicaid and Medicare coverage that is funded by the government. Now, I guess this will only hit home for families who not affluent, families who can't come out of pocket and pay, regular conventional healthcare costs. But for some of those families who need these subsidies, they should really be, calling their Congress people. They should be emailing them, texting them. Whatever means you had to communicate, you should be reaching out to your congressperson, because should the government shut down behind this because the Democrats want federal funding for a lot of the healthcare programs out there to cover more Americans? There was something that sparked my interest while covering this story here, ladies and gentlemen, of what the president stated yesterday or 2 days ago, I think, at the United Nations on what he said about America. And I want you guys to listen in on this, because I don't like the fact that the president of the United States of America will get on the world stage and basically lie to the world. I want to say allegedly he lied to the world. From what I read, research, and study based upon the information given and what he stated to the world, they are in vast contradiction. And I'm going to show you after you listen in on the president.
48 times in the last short period of time. Growth is surging. Manufacturing is booming. The stock market, as I said, is doing better than it's ever done. And all of you in this room benefit by that. Almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
He stated that workers' wages are increasing rapidly, more so than it ever has.
In 4 years of President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States. In just 8 months since I took office, we have secured commitments and money already paid for $17 trillion.
Okay, so I just want to point out that last bit, not the Joe Biden $1 trillion, not that. What I'm referring to is employees' wages have increased rapidly, more than they ever have in American history, or ever since 1966 or whatever year he gave. Ladies and gentlemen, he was saying how great America is doing. Well, when I look at this, the unemployment rate and all the mass firings that we have and a lot of people being unemployed, it says, what is the current unemployment rate? It stated that is 0.1% increase from July. Then it goes on to say that the rate is higher than unemployment rates during 23 and 24. And then it goes on to state that the unemployment rate has risen since hitting a 50-year low of 3.4 in April 23. So at first, now granted, this is not me taking the side of the Democrats or Joe Biden, but they stated that the unemployment rate has risen since hitting a 50-year low of 3.4% in April in 2023 when Joe Biden was in office. Okay, so what am I missing here? The only way that I can think that people's wages are increasing because the people who are getting laid off, the people who are unemployed, the people who are getting fired, they now have more duties and responsibility and a larger workload. Now, granted, when I was working at Amazon, I worked 4 10s. And then you get 3 days off. Now, in them 4 10s, I would say 9 out of 10 hours I was on my feet because I was a manager in the pack section, and I had to go to each and every lane. Any issue, I had to, work that out. I had to produce certain numbers each and every shift. There's a certain amount of package that a lot of my skill level workers needed to pack. The number was 65. They had to at least pack 65 boxes with whatever product that people order off of Amazon.com in 1 hour. So 65. And believe it or not, it's harder than what you think. And these people are on their feet majority of the day. And they receive, I think, 2 15-minute rest breaks and 1 lunch. So basically, they're only off their feet for an hour. You get a rest break in the front half of your shift for 15 minutes. Then you have lunch for 30 minutes. And then you get another 15-minute break. So you only off your feet for an hour out of a 10-hour shift. Now, me as a manager, if I'm off my feet, it's because they just took lunch and the second part of the shift is just now starting. And now I'm in with the other managers eating lunch very quickly. And it's probably less than that. I was probably on my feet 9.5 hours, 11 to 12 hours, because even though my shift was 10 hours, I was at work 11 to 12 hours per day. Because we were actually getting to work an hour before the shift even started because we had to build our shift. And again, I don't want to bore you with all the things we had to do, but building your shift was basically taking the programs and all the information that Amazon provided of products that was coming into the facility, products that was shipping out the facility. How can we reach this 100% goal each and every shift? Sometimes we did, but most of the times we not, but we got into the 90 percentile, which is highly acceptable, okay? Because again, you're getting 90% of the products out. So that means 90% of Americans are happy that their product that they ordered is coming in 30 minutes, a day, or in 2 days. So I digress. So I don't know what their president was talking about, but I'll definitely keep you guys updated on the hottest news stories. Thank you for joining me here on Blacklogic.